Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Name One Player podcast. My name is Nicole. I am your host. And before we hop into the episode, I just want to say a huge thank you to every single person who is listening today. If you are a returning listener, thank you so much for coming back. I don't know how many episodes you've listened to in the past. Maybe it's one, maybe it's all of them, but however many it's been, I'm so glad that you listened to an episode and you thought, I'm coming back because this show is really cool. I agree with you, it's probably the coolest show to ever exist. But I'm so glad that you came back. Thank you for returning. It means the absolute world to me. However, on the flip side here, if you are a new listener, welcome. Huge welcome to you. I'm so glad that you found the Name One Player podcast. I don't know how you found the Name One Player podcast. I'd love for you to let me know. Maybe leave a little comment, send me a little DM. However it may have been, I'm just glad that you are here and I'm glad that you have hit play today. The Name One Player podcast is a place for women to talk openly about the sports that they love without ever being asked to name one player. I'll never do that. I promise you I'll never do that. If you come on the podcast, I might get you to share a fun little story about a time that you've been asked to name one player, but I'm never going to ask you that, okay? I promise. All right, getting into the episode. A few things to cover before we talk about our lovely guest today. Number one, it's really freaking hot right now. I am sweating like crazy, and I have a fan beside me. I normally don't record with the fan because my microphone will pick up the fan noise. I can literally see when I'm quiet that my microphone is still picking up the fan. So hopefully in the editing process, I can somehow minimize that noise. But if you hear a fan today, I'm truly sorry. I had no other option. I was going to pass out in this episode if I did not have a fan going beside me. All right, now that that's out of the way. Two things have happened since the last episode. And speaking of the last episode, I just want to say thank you to every single person who's reached out about the episode. I was so excited to get that episode out because in that episode that we do with Maddie, we're covering the women's Euros and England winning. But we're also talking a lot about the misogyny that exists, particularly attitudes that men have towards women's sports, and we touch on women's football or soccer in general. But I think it's just such an important conversation to have, and I think Maddie put her thoughts so eloquently, much better than I could have ever said these words. But I think it was such a great and insightful conversation. So if you haven't listened to that, I definitely recommend you go back to last week's episode and listen to that. However, again, there are two things that I want to discuss that have happened since I got out that episode last Thursday. Number one, the Vikings played a preseason game. I guess every team in the NFL has played a preseason game now. It was lots of preseason games over the weekend. They were really exciting, lots of ups and downs. Obviously, preseason, you can't determine a whole heck of a lot from preseason. I do understand that. However, it is fun to watch. And JJ McCarthy, the quarterback of the Minnesota Vikings, I got to see him in action. And he didn't play the whole game. He did start for the preseason game, but they took him out afterwards. Not because he was bad, thank God. Because they're like, let's just give people a little bit of taste of what they want to see. Thankfully, he didn't hurt his leg like he did last time. I'm gonna knock on wood there. I'm gonna put every single thing out into the universe that man does not get injured. But for those of you who don't know, he was injured during a preseason game last season. And thankfully he wasn't injured again because I couldn't handle it. I genuinely would not be able to handle that. But yeah, it was exciting. It was nice watching the preseason games, getting a little bit of a taste, just seeing everybody's excitement build for the season. It's fun. Preseason is a nice little sprinkle of excitement, I guess. a sprinkle of encouragement that we have almost made it. We have almost made it to September, to the regular season of the National Football League, and I can't wait. I genuinely can't wait. The second thing that has happened since last week. This actually happened yesterday. I'm recording this on Tuesday. Episode's going to be out on Thursday. It is announced that Taylor Swift is going to be on the New Heights podcast. And that's exciting. That's exciting for me as a Taylor Swift fan. I've actually never listened to a New Heights podcast episode. I have, fun fact, for those of you who don't know, I actually have met Jason Kelce, and I have a whole episode about that. It's one of my beginning episodes. Part of me wants to say it's like episode 4. I don't know why that's sticking out to me. But it's one of my only solo episodes, and I talk all about how I met Jason Kelce because I posted a picture of it, and it made some people angry. God forbid a girl has a little bit of banter about the Minnesota Vikings and the Eagles with Jason Kelce. Okay? God forbid. But it pissed a lot of people off. But Jason Kelce was perfectly kind to me when I met him. I've never really been a fan of Travis Kelce and his style of playing football. I've never liked him. Sue me. Sorry. Sorry, Chiefs fans. I've never really liked the guy. But I've always loved Taylor Swift. But that's not true. In high school, when she was dating Harry Styles back in 2011, 2012, I hated her. I was Taylor Swift's number one enemy, but I've learned that was silly, and I actually really enjoy her now. So I'm so excited. By the time this episode comes out, the New Heights podcast will already be out with Taylor Swift on it. I'm so excited to listen. I hope it's going to be a great episode. So many people love the New Heights podcast, and I love Taylor Swift. So it's going to be a good one. She did announce that there is a new album, so we'll see how many of the songs are about Travis. We'll see how many times she drops something about the Kansas City Chiefs in her songs. Yeah, but I think that's really it for updates since last week's episode. This week's episode, we have a lovely guest on. Her name is Kaya. And Kaya is a public relations student at Gonzaga University, and she has done pretty well every experience that you can think regarding working in sports under the sun. Like, the resume that this girl has is honestly crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how she's done all of this work, but it's so incredible and such an accomplishment. But right now, Kaya is the head of PR at Sports Girls Club. And Sports Girls Club is such a cool company. Really similar to the idea of the Name One Player podcast, Sports Girls Club is giving women a space to love sports without any judgment or without any men there to just kind of knock them down. You know, Sports Girls Club is turning the boys club of sports into a girls club of sports, and they're making it fun. I absolutely love Sports Girls Club social media pages. They also have a new apparel line that has come out. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite media outlets for sports that's tailored towards women. So if you haven't heard of Sports Girls Club, definitely check them out. But like I mentioned, Kaya is the head of PR for Sports Girls Club. So we're going to have a little bit of a chat with her, pick her brain, hear all about how she got into studying PR, why she loves sports, why she decided to go down this career route, and what she does with Sports Girls Club, because I love having women on here giving their advice and showing all the different ways that women can work in sports. Yeah, I think that's enough for me. I've rambled on here enough, so I think let's just hop into the episode. All right, everybody, without further ado, please welcome Kaya. All right, everybody, so we have Kaya here with us. Kaya, thank you so much for coming on. How are you doing today?
Thanks for having me. I'm doing great, other than it's like 1,000,000 degrees, but other than that, I'm doing great.
No, literally, I can see that my microphone is picking up on my fan, and like I usually don't have one, but it's so hot. And I was like, there's no way that I can sit through this episode without having a little bit of a breeze. You're on the West Coast, right?
So I'm in Spokane, Washington. I am going into my final semester at Gonzaga University, but I'm
Nice.
originally from Colorado.
Okay. So, Kaya, tell me and everybody listening a little bit about yourself.
So I am, as I said, going into my senior year at Gonzaga University in Spokane. I'm going to graduate with a degree in public relations with the goal of one day working in sports communications or social media. But for the past couple of years, I've been on the leadership team of Sports Girls Club, which is a company that is designed for women who like, play, or work in sports, just giving them a space because it was a space that was super needed and has done that. So I've been in a bunch of different roles with them and am currently the head of public relations for Sports Girls Club while also doing a bunch of other things as a college student, including like working for the athletics department, doing some freelance work. I honestly just love working in sports, so I try to take as many opportunities as I can.
Yeah, amazing. Interesting about Gonzaga University. Well, not really that interesting, but I used to go to school in a place called Kamloops in Canada. And Kelly Olenek, he's from Kamloops. And I know that he went to school there. So it was always a really big thing. He'd like come back to Kamloops and like do our athletic banquet breakfasts and stuff. And it was always so he's a big guy, real tall guy. But yeah, no, that's so cool. And when you reached out to me about collaborating for an episode, it was so fascinating to see all of the experience that you have. I feel like you've done pretty well every single role that there is in sports. Everything from, the social media aspect to game day reporting to writing, and then now you're working and studying PR. I just thought it was so cool that you've done really everything. But did you always know that you wanted to work in sports? How did you get to where you are now?
So, funny enough, I went to school for a year in DC. So, my first year of college, I went to school at George Washington University to study political science, and they have a special major called Human Services and Social Justice because I was going to be a lawyer. I was going to go to law school and work in politics.
Okay.
That obviously didn't happen
Yeah, a
and
little bit different.
will not be happening, but I always grew up around sports. I grew up in a town of less than 300 people.
300 people, is that what you said?
Yeah, it's grown a lot in the past couple of years, like with COVID and everything. A lot of
Yeah.
people are moving to rural communities, but when I was growing up, it was less than 300 people.
Wow.
So there wasn't a lot to do, and I grew up playing every sport out there. I grew up playing soccer. I played soccer until my junior year of high school. I played basketball, volleyball. I ran track and field. I'm not a runner. Just going to throw that out there. I
You
am not
tried
a
it
runner.
though. You did it.
I tried it. Grew up skiing, hiking, everything outdoors, but because it's such a small community, I was super involved with our recreational soccer program, and as were my parents. So my mom and dad were on the board for our soccer program. That like everybody went through the rec board, and like that's how everybody played soccer until you moved up into club. Ages 4 to I want to say 14
Okay.
is like if you're not playing club, by the time you're 14, you're still in the rec league. So my parents were on the board. My dad and mom are both certified referees, and I'm a certified referee for soccer. So I grew up volunteer coaching, refereeing soccer, playing soccer, always around sports, always around my tight-knit community. But didn't really realize there was a path for me to work in sports. And I also was super involved in like student government and everything. So politics was it's my other love. I really do enjoy it. So I decided I wanted to go to law school, and that led me to DC and everything. But when I was in DC, I was homesick, I was lonely, I didn't have that community. So I took advantage of every single free sports game I could go to, which led to me going to a ton of Washington Spirit games, Mystics, DC United, the Nationals, like taking advantage of that. And when they're free tickets, you're in like the fan section. So you're with this amazing community of people who just love sports and love everything about it. And I was like, wow, this is a community that I want to be a part of and I want to work in. So that really led to me completely transitioning what I wanted to do. And now here we are.
Wow. Okay, that's an amazing story. I really love that. A couple things that you said there, like how, you've always loved soccer in particular, just that's what you grew up playing. Well, it sounds like you grew up playing or doing everything, but soccer was the one like you really loved. But you just didn't realize that there was a route of like having a career in sports other than being a professional athlete. That is, I think, something that a lot of people aren't really talking about. Because, yeah, obviously we knew like you can be a coach, you can be a referee, like you can be an athlete. But a lot of the time people think, I remember at least me growing up, thinking that like the only way that you can do this is if you are working, actually playing in the leagues, and it was only worth it if it was a professional league. Like otherwise there was no career for you. And a lot of the time too, I'm sure when we were growing up, like the women's pro leagues weren't really a thing. So it's like, okay, like sports just isn't a viable career option for women like when you're growing up, which is so crazy to think about now. It's so cool to see like the little girls now growing up and just knowing that there's a million and one things for them to be able to do. But then also I really loved what you said too, that politics and that kind of stuff is still like, you still love it. You still grew up doing it. You think it's super cool. And one of the coolest things I think about sports and going the route of actually having a career in sports is there's like literally like anything tied to anything you can also do in sports. And I guess even PR, like a lot of that can be tied into politics too. Politics, I firmly believe, is everywhere and everything. I also absolutely love politics. So yeah, I just think that's a really good reminder that if you want to work in sports, there's a million different avenues to do it. And we'll get into Sports Girls Club, but I do think organizations like that are really showcasing just how many opportunities there are for women in particular. But I know you were saying that you started to go to these free games and like really found community in sports. But what made you go from literally one Washington to the other Washington and get into public relations?
So I wanted to transfer and it was super late. But Gonzaga, because I had gotten in the year before, I just had to fill out one form. And it was
really convenient. Wow, that works out great.
And it was March Madness. I'm watching the Zags. I'm like, Gonzaga was the second choice anyways. So let's apply and see what happens. Because otherwise, I would have either had to go back to DC for a semester or taken a gap semester just because of how late I was applying. But it all worked out. And I love Gonzaga because it's a small school, but with a big sports feel. We don't have football, which is sad, but there's easy ways to get around that. Like my roommate and I go to Washington State. We go for a game every season.
I was just gonna say, like, because is there still a rivalry there? Like, do you go and support the other Washington football teams or no?
I'm a Coug for a day. One day a year, I am a Coug. It's for the 4 hours I'm in Pullman. The only time I'm in Pullman ever is for a football game. Yeah, because we're in the same conference as Washington State now, and we're going to be for forever because we're moving to the Pac-12. But like basketball season, there's no love for the other.
I figured that. That's hilarious. Okay, well, so fun. I mean, yeah, I grew up in Vancouver. I've actually never been to Spokane, but I have family who live just outside of Seattle, and I just think like the West Coast, the PNW, there's just something so special about it, and it really is cool. How far is Spokane from Seattle?
I think it's a 4.5-hour drive.
Okay,
I want to
so
say.
a bit of a trek.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, with the PWHL starting there, like that's gonna be so exciting. You're graduating pretty soon, so is the goal to stay in Spokane, or are you just gonna go where the universe takes you? What's the plans there?
I'm gonna go where the universe takes me. This summer I freelanced in sports, but I didn't get an internship in sports, which was just totally financial based. I was still paying rent on my house in Spokane, and Spokane has a baseball team, minor league baseball team. They're affiliate of the Rockies, which I love as a Colorado girl. Yeah. But their internship is super limited, and I instead am doing like a product marketing internship right now that'll last through December, but really kind of just putting feelers out, going to apply everywhere I can, see what happens. But yeah, I honestly would be fine relocating anywhere at this point. Spokane's really great, but I am totally fine going somewhere else.
I love that. And you know what? I think I mean, I don't work in sports. I mean, I guess you could say this technically is working in sports, but I do think that is probably the hardest part I could imagine about a career in sports is you gotta not be attached to a certain place because it's like good in a way because there's a sports team in pretty well every city. If you want to work in sports, you can really go anywhere, thankfully. But it's also on the flip side, it's like if you want to work in sports and you do want to grow your career and kind of make that way up the ladder, whatever you want to call it, you gotta be able to pack your bags and move. So it sounds really good that you're willing to do that, that you're open to all these opportunities. I'm so confident that the right opportunity will fall into your lap. It sounds like you have so much experience, and I think the most important thing too is like it sounds like you have the genuine love and passion for it, which I think just is so important. Like working in any career, it's horrible if you don't actually love what you're doing. So that is the nice thing about sports is that sometimes I can imagine it doesn't even feel like a job half the time.
Thank you. But yeah, it definitely, there's so many like days that I've worked a game and I've walked away and it was hours on end, but I was like, I can't wait to do that again next week.
Aw, that's so good. Yeah, I'm super happy for you, and I definitely know the right place will fall into your lap. Okay, so when you and I were talking just about all the experience that you have, and you mentioned at the beginning of the episode, you've been involved with Sports Girls Club, which I think is just honestly, there's so many really cool like media companies that are so focused around women and just the name Sports Girls Club because sports have always been a boys club and just kind of making it a safe place for women too, I think is just so amazing. But right now you said you're the head of PR. How did you get involved in working with Sports Girls Club?
So, like I said, I decided to transfer super late, and because of that, internships for the summer had been completely filled, other than I went on Instagram, which at the time Sports Girls Club had like 4 or 5,000 followers. This was back in April, I want to say, of 2023.
Okay.
So it was very new, very fresh. At the time, it was literally like a few people, and then our CEO, Delaney Galbraith, hadn't even taken it on full time. So it was very like small and new and a baby. And I actually transferred to Gonzaga as a journalism major, but
Okay.
realized that all the things you learn in journalism classes are very similar to PR, and PR just was a better fit for me as a writer.
Yeah.
But I applied for the Sports Girls Club summer internship because it opened in April as a writer and editor. So I started out as a writer and editor intern. And then once I got to Spokane, I applied for the fall as a TikTok reporter. So reporting on sports on TikTok for them. But I realized like it had grown a lot even throughout the summer, and the internship experience I had in the summer was different from the fall just because there were more people and it was a lot more to manage. So I reached out to Delaney, our CEO, and was like, hey, do you need an intern coordinator? I'm like a super organized person, so it really worked out well. And she was like, sure. So I did that role. I've done a few other roles throughout my time, but similar to me going like, do you need this? When I met with Delaney in the spring of this year, I was sort of like, I don't know what I want to do right now because I'm not feeling super passionate about being in charge of the internship. It's just not really speaking to me, and I feel like I can give more to the company on like a business side, especially PR and partnerships. And Sports Girls Club has since grown. We have 139,000 followers on Instagram. Like, we're throwing events. It's grown a lot since I first joined. And she was like, do you want to do PR then? And I said, sure. So I started as the head of PR in May, transitioned into that role, had an amazing intern this summer who really helped me like find my footing because it was a week before our summer interns came on. And I was like, I have no idea what to do with this intern, but she was amazing. Absolutely love her. And I know she'll do amazing things in sports. So a few months ago, I started as head of PR, and that's where I'll be for a bit.
That is so exciting. Yeah, I absolutely love that. I think that's so important for really, I mean, a good businesswoman. So Delaney, it sounds like she knows what she's doing. But, you know, to just talk to the people that are involved and be like, what can we do, you know, to continue like growing your passion here, to continue having you do what you absolutely love to do, and also like what you're able to help with the most, that sort of thing. So that's really exciting for you. I'm so happy for you. Congratulations on your promotion.
Thank
But you know,
you.
question, because I mean, I feel like I don't really know a whole bunch about PR. So, as the head of PR, what sort of stuff are you doing with Sports Girls Club?
PR is like pitching to media outlets and trying to like spread your brand to other places who can then communicate it. And actually, a lot of why I approached Delaney about wanting to do PR is I was at March Madness. The NCAA tournament hosted its regional here in Spokane at the arena. So it was women's as well, which amazing. I got to see like Paige Beckers and everybody with the Yukon team. And I would go there as a media member accredited with Sports Girls Club, and they'd be like, I don't know what that is. Can you tell me about it? And I think Sports Girls Club, because Delaney's based in Boston, so it's very East Coast centric, and all the events have been on the East Coast. So the digital footprint, even if people are following it on the West Coast, it's not as well known. So that was sort of why I was like, hey, Delaney, we need PR and I can do it. So basically, this summer has been a lot of research in trying to do some comms audits, figure out what the brand messaging is, who we are as a brand and company, so that now we can transition into having Delaney go on podcasts, having me be a spokesperson on podcasts, digital interviews, traditional media, and sort of just getting out there, putting our voice out there, while also writing the press releases for all our events, writing feature stories on all our events. We're launching a bunch in our apparel right now, which has been
Yes,
super
I've
exciting.
seen that. That's so exciting.
Yeah, so making sure that people know about that, communicating with others, trying to get the word out there about Sports Girls Club, and then also making sure that like if there's award programs or partnerships that we can have, we're trying to ensure that we have those happen.
Yeah. Well, was it Sports Girls Club? Let me just look it up. Are you a Taylor Swift fan?
I'm not a Swiftie.
Okay,
I
okay. Well,
appreciate
you know
her,
what?
but
And that's okay. That's okay. But yes, it was Sports Girls Club. Something I absolutely love about Sports Girls Club is like their social media is just on it. And I actually was going to mention this to you because Taylor Swift, and I say this in my intro, Taylor Swift has announced a new album, and Sports Girls Club, I don't know if it's coming up. Like, you guys were quick with with getting the current event kind of stuff out that's just not only about sports, but like linking it into sports, because I think that's the other thing too that a lot of women do. Like, we're multifaceted people, like humans are, you know. You can only love sports, and if you only love sports, that's totally okay, but you can also love sports and politics and pop culture and music and all of this stuff. And I think for a really long time, sports was only supposed to be like this macho manly sports thing, but no, you're allowed to like sports and make a little sparkly Taylor Swift graphic, and the world will still turn. It will be okay.
we love to say we're like sports for the girls because we really are. Like, so many of our posts connect to The Summer I Turned Pretty, Love Island. I love a good Summer I Turned Pretty post.
So
Conrad
good.
supports women's sports.
Are you excited for the episode tomorrow?
So excited.
I'm gonna get this episode out on Thursday, but I'm like, I'm forcing myself to finish editing before I watch the episode because I have no self-control, and otherwise I would just want to sit and watch the episode. But this will get edited, and then I'll watch the episode, and then we can talk about it.
Amazing. No, I won't be able to watch it until like late tomorrow night because
Okay.
I have my internship and my retail job tomorrow. So I unfortunately will be avoiding social media like the plague.
Yeah, well, that's the hardest part, is just avoiding it. Yeah, I'll have to just momentarily mute Sports Girls Club so that I don't get any The Summer I Turned Pretty spoilers. That's so funny. Okay, so you're doing your internship. You're head of PR for Sports Girls Club. You mentioned that you have another job. Are you studying at the same time? Do you have classes still?
Classes don't start for another few weeks.
What I was gonna say is, though, you have a lot going on, so thank you for finding the time to come on and chat with us today. I really appreciate it. But are you following along with any sports teams? I know you mentioned that you love soccer. Any teams that you're following along with right now meanwhile keeping up with your professional life? How do you manage to fit it all in?
Wish I could say I was like keeping up with everything. It helps because I'm a soccer fan. I honestly prefer, like, I love the NWSL, but don't really love the MLS. I prefer like the Premier League and La Liga, and they're not in season. So
Yes.
that's been super nice is I've just been able to keep up with the NWSL and my Washington Spirit, who I love. However, we'll see if I stay loyal because Denver just got an NWSL team that starts next season. But I love the Washington Spirit, so I have been keeping up with them. And then Trinity
Okay.
Rodman has returned, and I'm so happy. I love Trinity, so I'm really excited to see her back on the pitch, and like she came in with a bang.
That is so exciting. How are they doing so far? How is the season going?
They've dealt with a lot of injuries, so that's been difficult, but they're still doing really well. I know they're pretty high up. I think they're fourth right now. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure they're fourth right now. I know that having Trin back is just bringing a ton of energy back
Yeah.
to the squad. And then also they were short a couple players because of the Euros. So now that the NWSL is back and everything, I think they're going to have a really strong end of the season, and they're definitely going to be contenders come finals.
Okay, well, I'm gonna have to follow along. You're making it sound like something that I should be locked into here. Okay, definitely. I will add that to my list of things to watch. Was The Summer I Turned Pretty. I'm also really into Big Brother right now. Preseason for the NFL has started. Thankfully, well, I love preseason. I really do, but it's not my main focus, thankfully. And we got the Formula One break for a few more weeks, and yeah, so maybe I'll lock into the Washington girls here. All right, Kaya. So this has been so fun chatting with you so far. Thank you again for coming on, for finding time in your busy schedule.
Thank you.
But I do have one last question for you. I ask this question of every guest who comes on, and obviously the name of the show is called Name One Player, and that came to be because I feel like it's very common if you're a woman who loves sports and you working in sports with all of your different roles. It's pretty common for women to run into the classic, well, can you even name one player? Which is frustrating, but really does just come from a place of, I guess, misunderstanding, if you want to call it that, or I guess just the belief that women maybe don't know as much or just don't have an equal spot in the world of sports. So, because you have so much experience working in sports already, do you have any fun name one player stories or any stories of being made to prove that you belong in the world of sports?
Yeah, there's a few. I feel like I've been really lucky though. Like most of the men that I've worked with or been around have really been great. I do
Amazing.
I know they're out there. I know there's guys out there, but like most of the men that I've been around, especially as a member of the media, have been really great. I joined our school paper and like rose to be a sports editor for it. So I got really lucky with the guys that I worked with on the school paper. They all graduated, but they really recognized like, oh, you know your stuff. And that was great. But two of the guys on the paper and I interned last fall for our USL team. So we have in Spokane two teams. We have Spokane Zephyr and Spokane Velocity. Spokane Zephyr is in the USL Super League, which is the new professional women's soccer league. They're going to be in their second season, starting this month, actually, which is so exciting. I'm so excited to go to a game. And then Velocity is in USL League One, so it's a lower level of professional soccer.
Okay.
Through the USL, and both those teams started last year here in Spokane. But I came on to work in PR and comms and social media with the women's team specifically, and the two guys on the paper were with the men's team, and there was one other guy who we didn't go to school with. We didn't really know him, who was an intern with me on the women's side.
Okay.
And he thought he knew everything. And it was constantly like, because we had to work closely together, questioning my ability, questioning me in front of our boss. It was his first internship in sports, and he was like really unprofessional about it. But We had a game, it was our first win, and I was the one writing the game story. So I sent him with questions down to the interview because you have to have your story out 90 minutes after the final whistle for the
Oh my
league.
God. Oh, wow. Okay. Time crunch. Jeez. Okay.
But you have to have quotes from 2 players and a coach also
Okay.
for the league. So the way we did it is for the PR comms interns, we had one person who was the editor and they would go down and do the interview, and then one person was the writer. So I was the writer for this game. It was a huge deal. Our first win was at home. We had 3 draws on our schedule already, and we were about to take our first road trip. So it was like a big deal for us to get this win.
For sure.
And I'm like scrambling, writing, texting questions throughout finishing this for the interview. He didn't ask a single question that I sent him. And then he comes back, the story is written. I just need the quotes. And I had quotes. He asked questions, just not like what I was looking for my
Not
story.
that's like actually relevant to the story that you've written. Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't understand why it's relevant to ask about the road trip. And I'm like, well, just so you know, tomorrow I'll be writing the preview for the road trip game that's on Wednesday. This was a Sunday. The preview needed to be out Tuesday. I needed that quote, but our boss is in the room waiting to like publish all of our stuff. I reworked my story in 15 minutes, turned it in, and my boss was like, this is the best story I've had this whole time. And I was like, oh, thank you so much. And the guy that was the other intern was standing there just like gawking. And I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I don't know why you're questioning me.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay, so many things to that. One, I had no idea. Like, I've never worked in real-time journalism with covering games, but that's so crazy. I didn't realize. I mean, I guess 90 minutes when you are putting out that like live reaction or whatever, like I guess that is a good amount of time, but like I could not, let me tell you, I could not get anything done in 90 minutes. My brain just wouldn't. So amazing, huge props to you. I mean, and I think it just kind of goes to show your talent and your passion and just kind of that this is the career that you should be in. The fact that like this guy got quotes that like weren't relevant to what you actually wanted and you were still able to work it in a way that your manager thought was amazing, and they probably didn't even know about all of this, like that all of this had happened. So the fact that you stayed cool under pressure and you just got it done without even worrying about this guy is wild. So good for you. That's really impressive, and I'm sorry that that happened. But, you know, I liked what you said about, well, this kind of does change a little bit, because I was going to say, you know, how you mentioned before that, you know, most of the people that you've met in a professional setting with men, most of the men that you've met working in sports have been really professional and, you know, really respectful and just acknowledge that you earned a spot where you are, just like they have. And I was gonna say too, mainly because I don't work in sports, but the men that I've encountered who are horrible are like these random faceless men online. And I think so much of that stems from the fact that they wish that they were where you are. And a lot of it just stems from jealousy and the fact that they're just not in that spot. And I think they just maybe feel threatened by a woman who's there. So that is nice to know that majority of the men who are actually working in that space are very kind, very professional. So that is really awesome to hear. I wonder if this guy that you worked with, though, got another internship or what happened there.
Yeah, I have no idea. The other guys that were on my paper and everything, they also just didn't like him. So it was nice to have them as well be like, this is crazy.
Yeah, that honestly does sound crazy. And like, I mean, maybe we can give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe it wasn't even related to your gender. Maybe he was just annoying and just wasn't good at his job. Maybe sports he's not cut out for it. But that definitely is unfortunate. But again, I'm so glad that you were able to just remain professional in that situation when it probably would have been so easy to be like, dude, you're an idiot. Like, what are you doing? Stop.
Thanks. Yeah, no. It's definitely, and like going back to the men who work in sports being professional, I've definitely like experienced the other side, but majority have been great. And I think it's also just something that's learned. Like if the men that are higher up are treating the women who are no matter what level well, even if it's just like the security guard or the woman at the merch tent, that's going to set the example for other younger men to also
Yeah.
treat them well. And I think about this a lot because my like total tangent, but like one of my
No, I
biggest
love it.
pieces of advice for like anybody is when you go into an interview, treat everybody with like the utmost respect as if they're the one that's interviewing you and the one making the decision. So the person at
Wow.
the front desk, if you see a janitor, say hello and ask how their day is. Set that example right away that you're going to be a kind person and you're somebody they want on your team, and that really helped. So
Yeah.
the president of game operations was amazing and treated everybody super well. So a lot of the younger guys treated everybody super well because that example was there. So really it's not that hard to treat people well. You just
Totally.
need to have that example set for you, I think.
Yeah, that's an amazing point. I mean, that's great advice. And like you said too, like treating everybody with kindness and just being a good person. I mean, I do think you're a good person, so you do find it easy. Hopefully everybody does, but it really is not that hard unless you're just like a rotten person to the core. But like I really like what you said, just like anybody that you're speaking to, especially in a job interview, but really anywhere, it's like it literally, I see it all the time. It costs nothing to be kind. You can just be a kind and respectful person to every single person. But I think that is such a good point, too. The tone that's set from above really does trickle down. And if you're working in a place where the higher ups are very kind or very professional, are going out of their way to make every single person in the building, male or female, whatever their role is, comfortable and happy and feel like they belong there, it makes a world of a difference. So, such a good point. And if any VP of operations of any sports teams are listening, you guys should definitely continue just being that, having that culture of kindness and respect throughout the entire building. So important.
It takes 5 seconds to smile at somebody and say hello. And
Definitely.
a
Definitely.
lot of people remember it. Like a lot of the sports events in Spokane, like it's a pretty smaller city, all of them have the same contracted security. So any game at the kennel where the Zags play is the same security as any game at the arena, as any game
Mm.
at the baseball stadium, as any game at the stadium where they at One Spokane Stadium. So have seen the same security guard at like every sporting event in Spokane I've gone to, even
Yeah.
that I haven't worked. And he like knows my name and we always say hi, and like he has grandkids and I ask about them. So it's literally like it takes 5 seconds to be
Yeah.
kind to other people.
Totally. That is such great advice. And again, I'm sorry that story happened to you, but that was a really good story. So thank you for sharing that. All right, Kyle. Well, this has been awesome. Again, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your expertise, working in so many different areas of sports. Thank you again for letting us know a little bit more about Sports Girls Club. Obviously, having a podcast where I interview women who love sports and giving them a space to talk openly. I love when female-led organizations are doing that. I think it's so important, and there's just so much room for it because for a very long time there was nobody doing that. So I love to see how much the organization has grown, and I hope you know you are a huge part of that growth too. So very exciting for you, exciting for the whole team, and I'm so excited to see what is next for you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me. It was so great talking to you, and literally, I love what you're doing, giving women a platform as well. So excited to see the next episodes as you continue doing this.
Oh, we're all just so excited for everybody. I love it so much. All right, Kaya, thank you so much. Thank you, Kaya, for that amazing episode. I had such a blast chatting with you. I hope everybody listening had as much fun listening to the episode as I had having the conversation with Kaya. For everybody listening, definitely go check out Sports Girls Club. If you haven't already, definitely go check out Kaya and all the amazing work that she's doing with public relations for Sports Girls Club. And like I said, Kaya, I'm so excited to see what is to come. You definitely have a very bright future paving the way for women in sports. It is so amazing to see. But yeah, I think that's really it for me. Another episode in the books. I think this is episode 36, which is wild to me. 36 episodes. If you enjoyed listening to this episode, please engage with the Name One Player podcast in whatever way is easiest for you. If you're listening on Spotify, you can rate the show 5 stars, I think is probably best. You can follow the show. You can comment on Spotify, which is so cool. If you're listening on YouTube, definitely make sure that you're subscribing, liking the episode, commenting as well. All the rest of them, low-key, are kind of boring. They don't really give you a lot of chances to interact, which is definitely too bad. But whatever platform you're listening to the Name One Player podcast, I would love it if you could rate the episode, follow the show. It all just means so much to me, and I am so appreciative of the engagement. But yeah, I think that's really it for me. By the time that I post this episode, I will be headed to Vancouver Island for a few days. It'll be nice to recharge a little bit, be in nature. I love the ocean. And where I'm going, I've never actually been to this part of the island before, so it's going to be super exciting. Maybe I'll post some somehow sports content related TikToks with a pretty beach view. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how I can work that in. Or maybe I'll just completely unplug from my phone and not be on it, which, as I say that, I already know, like, that's pretty unrealistic. But we'll see. We'll see. I feel like the best time to do it is when you're surrounded by nature, so maybe I'll do it. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you'll hear from me, maybe you won't, but you will definitely hear from me next week with another wonderful episode. Again, thank you so much to every single person who is listening today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.